Pretty privilege or pretty problem? That is the question. Hi guys, welcome back to Clare's Kingdom, where we talk facts, walk fierce, and remind the world that well-behaved women rarely make history. So today we are here with that topic. Yes, we are going to be talking about pretty privilege and whether or not it is all that it's gassed up to be. So for those who don't know, pretty privilege is basically having social, cultural, maybe even relational advantages due to your looks. Having great looks, maybe you're within, society standards, or maybe you just stand out in general, you're just beautiful in general. And that could be physically, mostly it's physically, but that could be also due to, your aura, your mindset, and the way you treat other people. So I guess pretty privilege can be a spectrum, and in this video we're just going to be talking about whether or not it's always a beneficial thing to have. As someone who has experienced it on different levels, it also comes with its downsides, and especially when you are a beautiful woman but you're also a powerful woman, let alone a powerful woman of color, it definitely has its strengths. So I can tell you guys stories for days about things that I have faced because of people being intimidated. And I don't think it's just looks, I think it's intellect. When you're beautiful, when you're pretty, a lot of the time when you're just that, people can digest you. But when you're pretty and smart and intellectual, you actually like to engage in conversation about, literature, art, the news, what's happening in the world, law, business, all these things. People then become intimidated, and especially men in positions of power. Because one thing that I've learned is that a lot of men in positions of power have very fragile egos, and I'm sure we know generally that men typically like to be seen as the more powerful person in whatever dynamic, especially if they're insecure or have a fragile ego. But I'm just going to tell you guys or share a few stories of my personal experiences, starting with in academia. I came across multiple, especially male professors, that clearly were intimidated by me before I even said a word, or even rejected themselves before I even got to speak or before I even got to interact. And I've experienced it since high school. Of course, at the time I didn't really notice it, but I realized the time I got to uni, I realized it was a pattern. It was different faces, but the same spirit or the same reaction or the same treatment, where it's like, you're fascinated by me, but then you're they're fascinated or attracted to me, intimidated at the same time. So it's like, because of that attraction, or because you find me attractive, now they're treating me with bias, or trying to neg me, trying to humble me, ignoring me, speaking to other students but ignoring me, or literally talking to someone that I'm right next to but not giving me any ounce of acknowledgement or anything like that. Not that I need it, but this is a video just to point out, if you've ever experienced it, you're not alone. I remember I had a university talk, so there was a guest speaker come speak to us, right? And obviously we've never met this man. Don't know this man from Adam. And of course, knowing me, I'm very engaging. I mean, typically I tend to be quiet and reserved. When it comes to group discussions, when we're talking about intellect, business, law, whatever it is, I'm going to share my two pieces. And I remember everyone was answering I think the question was on the lines of what makes a great leader, right? So obviously everyone's answering. He's like, yes, brilliant, great. Then I put my hand up to answer. And then I say assertiveness, right? And then he's like, it's almost like he was like, we'll put a pin on that. Like something like he basically shot down my answer, right? And in that moment, I chuckled to myself because I was like, oh, you're one of them ones. Like, okay. And for the rest of that talk, I didn't participate at all, because you see me, once someone tells me or shows me who they are, I take it. And the reason why, before people think I'm just, maybe it was genuinely wrong. The reason why I knew this, because we had a break, right? And that whole break, guys, this man was watching me. As in, I looked up, he was staring at me like I was some new toy. I don't know. He was staring at me with so much focus. Even when I was walking around the room, I saw his eyes following me, and I looked up and I made eye contact just to make sure that, because my gut is never wrong. Like Olivia Pope always says, my gut tells me all I need to know. And that's when I knew, yeah, he's one of them ones. And the fact that I don't know this man from Adam, he don't know me from Adam, it was just like an instant reaction. And I've experienced this even with familial authority figures. Yeah, for instance, I also had another professor who would do everyone's attendance, right? And then when I would ask to do it, they would say they couldn't do it, or they didn't have the control to do it. And prior to this, I remember telling my other course mates at the time that this man does not like me. Like, this man is clearly treating me differently. But of course, when you're not in it, people will just say, you're overthinking, no, it's probably not like that. And you're like, fine, cool. And then there was a time when someone else asked him to do their attendance and he did it. And when I did, he said he couldn't. And that's when other people started to see whoa, yeah, this is weird. And that's when I was like, yeah, pretty privilege or pretty problem. because yes, it has its benefits, but especially when people have the power to decide your grades, your attendance, things like that, your prerogative, your money, like if you're in the workplace, when these people are in charge of your paycheck, it becomes a problem. And I don't think it's spoken about enough, because now you have to engage in this power struggle that you didn't sign up to. Like, I didn't even say a word. I don't know you. Like, sir, I didn't know you. I don't know you. And a lot of the time, these people have wives and children at home. So it's like, what do you want from me? Like, sir. That's the thing I think they go through some sort of cognitive dissonance, because it's like, you're intimidated by me. You're clearly attracted to me, but then you're humbling me, trying to break me down, trying to tear me down. But then you somehow still want to get on my good side. Like, it's just weird. Like, one thing I just may never understand. And like I said, during high school, I remember having male teachers. Not all of them, guys. Let me just say that, like, it's not all men, it's not all people, but specific types of people that their confidence or their self-worth comes from their title, comes from something someone gave them. They always had a problem with me, or they always felt intimidated. And this is why I say pretty privilege may not always be just a physical thing, because even before I stepped into myself, or, you know, my grooming habits and put myself together, it still was a thing. And make sure you guys go watch my video about triple threats and the education system, because it also links back to that, how you being a powerful, beautiful woman and also being intelligent, it doesn't sit right with certain men, and that's why they take their chance to humble you, or try to anyways. But I know game, and that's the thing, they don't know I know game, and I'm making these videos so you guys know game too. You just have to laugh to yourself and keep it stepping, because you don't see anyone dragging down the person that's not really getting it, or the person they're not really intimidated by, which is so strange to me. Because for me, it would make sense that, okay, you found this person, they're clearly brilliant, they're clearly smart, they're nice to look at. In my head, you would think, oh, we could build this person, like, we can give this person opportunities, get a good name for our institution. But no, they choose the highway. I've also shared in previous videos of men, I keep saying in power, because it's always people that have the power to abuse it. And I remember I had a male professor who was he was in the woman's bathroom, and he just stood there and stared at me, and it was just very mortifying. I've shared this before, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And this is the same one that was messing with my attendance, by the way. And it's just like, what are you doing? Pretty privilege or pretty problem? I want to talk about Marilyn Monroe, because I know we all know I love that woman. Like, if you know me personally, you know she's one of my inspos. I love that woman so much. But one thing that we even see that Marilyn Monroe struggled with, that not only did she have the fame, she had the beauty, she had the level and extent, she had the status, all of that, but then it also meant that she was subjected to abuse. She was subjected to eyes always on her, people trying to even crossing her boundaries, being stalked, being harassed, being violated. These things people don't talk about. Yes, pretty privilege is definitely great, gets you free things, gets you in the front of a line, gets you into certain rooms, but it can also be a problem, which is why we need to learn to also set boundaries. And yeah, again, we can do these things, but sometimes it's actually out of our control. But I do believe that we can do, and we have to do everything we can to prevent being victims or being mistreated or abused at the hands of people that have fragile egos. And one thing that I love to say is the reason why certain people are intimidated by you, or treat you like the problem, or try to neg or humble you, is because your presence, your aura, your beauty is bigger than a title, is bigger than the title or their title. Your aura, like even you stepping in a room without you saying a word, means more than any title they could ever have. And that's the tea. That's the tea. Because otherwise, explain. Like, what is the reason? What is the reason? And another thing about pretty privilege, me saying it's a pretty problem, is people not having empathy for you, or expecting you to always be okay, or assuming that you don't have any problems, assuming that you have the best treatment. Yes, in certain situations it's true, but in a lot of situations it is definitely not true. And also leads to things like isolation. And I may make another video about this, but experiencing isolation, especially from other women that may be intimidated or just project certain traits onto you. But that's why we have to build boundaries, build courage, build strength, because like I said, powerful, beautiful, intelligent women were not made for these systems. Like, we are here to create our own, which is why when you become your own woman, when you build your intellect, you build your leverage, your power, go watch my video about power and leverage, these things don't even faze you, because you realize that you're not a part of the system, you live right outside of it. So these men, even women, teachers, bosses, managers, they can act however they want to act, but when you have a high locus of control, you don't even let these things phase you anymore. So yeah, don't let anyone gaslight you. This video is just for anyone who may feel gaslighted when people say you should be fine, you're pretty, you're smart, you're rich, you got it. Like, yes, these things are great, but they also have a shadow side. So yeah, make sure you guys comment down below your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let's keep it respectful, and yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye.